What's up everyone, it's Mr. M and I'm back today with a CD collection video. Continuing where I left off last time, however many months ago that was. I think this is part 9. I got 10 CDs here to talk about. First up, we have a band called Veil of Maya with an album called Eclipsed. This was put out on Sumerian Records in 2012. This is the band's 4th album. They're based out of Chicago, Illinois, in the United States. And the cat wants to be in the video, like always. But Veil of Maya, they play at this period in time, and I think some of the stuff beforehand. I'm not a huge fan of this band. I've never really delved into their earlier discography. But around this time in their career, they were playing a sort of progressive, almost, style of deathcore, almost kind of bridging into death metal at some points, but it's not death metal record by any means. A whole lot closer to deathcore. And if you are a fan of the deathcore stuff, kind of like Periphery in a way, but a bit more heavier. I'm not a huge Periphery fan either, but that is a band that I've always compared this to. Or even Born of Osiris too. Definitely give this album a listen. Next up is Emanations by Serpentine Path. This is kind of a super group of sorts. It features all 3 of the members of Unearthly Trance, and one of the guys, I can't remember who, from Electric Wizard. They came together and put together a great doom record. It's not super sludgy like the Unearthly Trance stuff. And Electric Wizard is a band that I have listened to like 1 or 2 songs from, so I can't really compare their sound to this. But this is their 2nd record. It came out in 2014 on Relapse Records. I mean, given that it's a doom record, one of the first bands that came to mind was Black Sabbath, like the real early stuff. Sorry, my cat's scratching up my chair right now. But yeah, Unearthly Trance, I talked about them in my last collection update, how I wasn't really a fan of them after just listening to the split that they did with Primitive Man. But I've listened to some of their stuff outside of that split, and they're a pretty damn good band. And even though all 3 of the members of Unearthly Trance are in Serpentine Path, it's not a direct carbon copy of Unearthly Trance. So if you like Unearthly Trance, probably if you like Electric Wizard too, definitely give this record a listen. Next up is a record that I definitely did not care for. This is a greatest hits compilation by a band called Alchemist, and this is called Embryonics. It is a greatest hits compilation from 1990 to 1998. Double CD of 28 songs of theirs from those 8 years. My cat's also in heat too, so that's why she's being a bit obnoxious. But this is a band that I bought this on a whim just off of the album cover. I think it was on sale a few years ago. This compilation was released in 2006 through Relapse Records. But I've only listened to a couple songs on it. It's not really that good. It's sort of like some psychedelic type shit. There's this weird, like, they'll have the full band playing like down-tuned sort of psychedelic doomy type stuff, but then they'll have like this weird acoustic guitar or piano or something fucking playing, and it's really loud in the mix, and it doesn't sound great at all. So can't recommend that record at all. Next up is a super rare record. This is Black Sabbath with The End. Originally, you could only get this on their farewell tour, and it was really pricey too. It was $30, And I remember them selling a signed version for $100. And then from that concert, I also kept this Black Sabbath confetti. I keep it in with this CD. There's 8 songs in total, all B-sides from the 13 record, the last record that they ended up doing before they announced their farewell tour, and that they weren't going to be making music anymore. 13 was a record I didn't really listen to a lot. I mean, I thought it was better than some of the stuff that they'd done before that, and even some of the stuff that they had done in the 90s and shit. And so these 4 songs are the 4 songs that were B-sides were it kind of reminded me of like old school Black Sabbath. Obviously, it's not going to touch any of their older stuff, but it's still pretty good, at least from what I can tell. And then there's the other 4 songs are all live songs that they recorded in Australia, New Zealand, and Canada when they were doing the touring for 13. And like I said, originally you could have only gotten this on their farewell tour, and I'm sure on Discogs and eBay and shit, people are selling it for obnoxious fucking prices. Next up is Nightwish with End of an Era. This is a live album, double CD. I think this was recorded live in 2005. Was released in 2007 on Nuclear Blast Records. Like I said, double CD, 18 songs in total. Nightwish songs are known for being kind of long, so it's not surprising that it ended up on 2 CDs. This was back when they had, forget her name, but the original vocalist before Floor Jensen was still in the band. And I think they only had 5 records out at the time, but 18 songs of, at this point now, all classic material and hits. And I don't think they ever released a DVD alongside this. It would have been cool if they did, but I'm not sure. Next up is I See Stars with The End of the World Party. This was released in 2011 on Sumerian Records. Fuck. Get away from my camera. This is their second record. The follow-up to their first record, 3D. That record, the first record was okay. This one was definitely not as good. The main song was the title track, which is the opening track as well. That was the big single. And then after that, like, there wasn't really any other hit songs. I mean, you had the Common Hours Part 2, which didn't live up to the first Common Hours on 3D. It Will Be Up, High School Never Ends was okay, but that still wasn't good. Pop Rock and Roll was a pretty great closer. But yeah, there's definitely not as many memorable songs on here as 3D. And given the albums that came after this, Digital Renegade and New Demons, I've talked about Digital Renegade before, those are so much better than End of the World Party, and because of that, the End of the World Party kind of gets forgotten. Next up is a CD and DVD live. The ending is the beginning. The Mitch Lucker Memorial Show, put out in 2013 on Century Media Records. This is a live show recorded on December 21st, 2012. 6 weeks or so after their vocalist Mitch Lucker died in a motorcycle accident. And there's 20 songs in total that they do, and they do it with each having a different vocalist from a different band. Although on one song, which was Engine Number 9, they recorded Mitch Lucker's vocals from one of their live shows, and they just played that through the PA for that song. But you got loads of artists on here. You got Tim Lambesis from As I Lay Dying, Phil Bozeman from Whitechapel, Danny Worsnow from Asking Alexandria, Randy Blythe from Lamb of God, Chad Gray from Mudvayne and Hell Yeah, Eddie Hermida, who would eventually end up becoming the lead vocalist for Suicide Silence. He has this song on here. He was formerly of All Shall Perish. Rob Flynn and Max Cavalera also made appearances on here. And then there was a documentary behind the scenes thing, and then Mitch Schlucker's last interview. Fucking sucks that he died. This guy was a great vocalist. Sad to see him go so early. But a lot of vocalists on here definitely did his songs justice. Next up are 2 releases from the same band. I'm not going to go super in depth on these because I've talked about them before. Actually, the last 3, I guess. I wasn't really looking very much when I picked these out. But Melakesh Enkai, and then Epigenesis. Like I said, I've talked about these before, so I'm not going to go too in depth. These are their 2 most recent albums. This one came out first in 2010. This one came out 2015. This is their most recent record. Mesopotamian themed blackened thrash metal. I believe they're from Israel. I can't remember. I know I've said it in a previous video. But the way that they play it, they're both amazingly put together. On the Epigenesis, they got 2 instrumental songs that are just so well put together. Yeah, I don't know what else to say that I haven't already said. But Melakesh in general, they are a super underrated band. They deserve a whole lot more attention. And if you're into thrash metal or blackened thrash at all, definitely check this band out. And then, finally, to cap this video off, Spectral Voice, Eroded Corridors of Unbeing. The debut record that came out last year that made everyone's year-end list. Death Doom from Denver, Colorado. Listening to this for the first time in a while, it's definitely not as good as how I remember it when I first heard it. But I guess that's kind of like that honeymoon phase thing, or whatever the fuck it's called, where you listen to something for the first time and it seems so good, but then, you know, you give it some time and it just turns out to be not as good. That's what happened here. Still a great record, and I'm get to see these guys live for the first time in the Dark Descent 9th anniversary show here in a couple weeks. But yeah, what's to say about this that hasn't been said already? Spectral Voice, amazing Death Doom. If you haven't checked it out, you are missing out. And that is going to conclude this collection video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. There's going to be links to all this where you can listen to it down below, and if you're interested in it. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.